All right, you can begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are Group 10, and today we'll be presenting Leading Change, which is Chapter 15. This group entails of Reese Daniram, Terran Francis, and me, Patel Huggins. Here's a simple chapter overview. Leaders can navigate change through an 8-stage model and daily strategies. Fostering innovation involves creating a creative environment. Leaders must address resistance to change through various means. Acknowledging both the positive and negative consequences of change is vital in challenging situations like downsizing techniques can support departing employees and maintain morale among those who remain. Next slide, please. Now we will get into the chapter itself. You've seen them on store shelves. Maybe you even use some in your home, office, or dorm room. We're talking about those squiggly bulbs that cost $4 or $5 but promise to last 5 times as long as bulbs that cost less than a buck and help save the environment in the process. Compact fluorescent bulbs that fit in standard light fixtures have been around for more than 20 years, yet two-thirds of lighting technology used in homes and offices today date to before 1960, practically the dark ages as far as leaders at Philips Electronics envy the world's largest lighting manufacturer are concerned. Philips invented the compact fluorescent bulb in the early 1980s and has been trying ever since to get people to use it. 90% of the patients who have had coronary artery bypass surgery, for example, don't change their lifestyle habits, even for seemingly simple change. Within organizations, leaders almost always encounter some degree of resistance when they attempt to implement changes. Leaders in many organizations, from small companies such as Gemi Industries, which invented inflatable holiday yard figures, to major corporations such as Boeing and large government agencies such as Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA or FEMA, have had to reconceptualize almost every aspect of how they do business to meet the changing needs of customers or clients, keep employees motivated and satisfied, and remain effective and competitive in a complex global environment. Even in the United States Army, finding it needs to undergo massive changes to fight a new kind of war in recent years, though the pace of change has increased dramatically, presenting significant changes for leaders. This chapter explores how leaders facilitate creativity, innovation, and change. We first look briefly at the need for change in today's organizations and examine a step-by-step model for leading major change. When the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside, the end is in sight. That's how Jack Welch, the former longtime chairman and CEO of General Electric, emphasizes the fact emphasized the fact that internal organization changes must keep pace with what is happening in the external environment. What a challenge that is today. A big problem for today's society, for today's organizations, is the failure to adapt to all these changes in the environment. Although there are many reasons for the failure to change and adapt, a primary solution to the problem is better change leadership. Barbara Wall, Hewlett Packard, began her career at Hewlett Packard Company in a mid-level personnel position at HP Labs, not the place one would think for instituting massive change. Yet, always identified herself as an agent of change and looked for opportunities to make things better. She had a vision that the organization could be the world's best industrial research lab, and she activated dozens of people to talk about what that would mean and how it could be accomplished. Change does not happen easily, but as illustrated by this example, good leaders throughout the organization can facilitate change and help their organizations adapt to external threats and new opportunities. One does not need to be a top leader to be a change leader. In the following section, we examine a model for leading major changes, and later in the chapter, we will give some tips for how leaders can overcome resistance to change. When leading a major change project, it is important for leaders to recognize that the change process goes through stages. Each stage is important and each may require significant amounts of time. Excuse me. At stage one, leaders establish a sense of urgency that change is really needed. Crises or threats will thaw resistance to change. Consider the situation at Volkswagen, Europe's largest automaker, already stumbling as a result of weak sales, high costs, and an overcapacity of more than a million cars a year. Volkswagen spiraled into crisis after accusations that executives solicited bribes, siphoned money in fake companies, and arranged visits to prostitutes using company funds. Stage two involves establishing a correlation with enough power to guide the change process and then developing a sense of teamwork amongst the group. For the change process to succeed, there must be shared commitment to the need and possibilities for organization transformation. Stage three requires developing a vision and strategy. Leaders are responsible for formulating and articulating a compelling vision that will guide the change effort and then developing the strategies for achieving that vision. In stage four, leaders use means possible to widely communicate the vision and strategy. At this stage, a correlation of change agents should set an example by modeling the new behaviors needed for employees. Stage five involves empowering employees throughout the organization to act on the vision. This means getting rid of obstacles to change, which may require revising system structures or procedures that hinder or undetermine the change effort. At stage six, leaders generate short-term wins. Leaders plan for visible performance improvements enable them to happen and celebrate employees who were involved in the improvements. Major change takes time and a transformation effort loses momentum if there are no short-term accomplishments that employees can recognize and celebrate. At stage seven, it keeps up the urgency, building on credibility and momentum achieved by short-term wins to tackle bigger problems. Successful change leaders don't simply declare victory after small wins and become complacent. They use courage, they use courage and perseverance to give people the energy and power to take on more difficult issues. At stage 8, where leaders make the changes stick. The transformation isn't over until the changes have well-established roots. Leaders instill new values, attitudes, and behaviors so that employees view the changes not as something new, but as a normal and integral part of the organization, of how the organization operates. Sometimes leaders see that significant change needs to be made, but they are constrained by various circumstances from initiating bold changes, or they recognize that aggressive moves will provoke strong resistance. I will now pass you on to Reese.
Okay, thank you, Petal. So today we're going to go to strategies for leading changes within organizations. So sometimes leaders face challenges when they want to make significant changes but are held back by various circumstances or fear resistance. In such situations, effective leaders work on influencing attitudes, assumptions, and behavior gradually over time, often through small everyday actions. These actions can accumulate and create a substantial impact on the organization. So the first strategy we're going to look at is creative self-expression. In this strategy, leaders set an example through their actions that reflect the value or behavior they want to see in their followers. This can be as simple as a leader wearing casual attire in a formal workplace or adjusting working hours to prioritize work-life balance. So the key here is that these actions quietly challenge the status quo, meaning the state of affairs within an organization, and can inspire others to follow, leading to a more balanced and productive work environment. So the next strategy is right words. In the right word strategy, this involves a leader turning negative attitudes, comments, or behaviors into opportunities for positive change. For example, in a corporate settings, there were a sales executive that observed minority managers in the organization struggle to gain recognition and attention. So during a staff meeting, a new female marketing director named Carol raised several concerns and questions, only to be constantly ignored. However, when a white male manager later echoed the concerns and captured everyone's attention, the sales executive intervened strategically. So he did not accuse or embarrass anyone, but rather casually addressed the situation by highlighting the oversight. So by acknowledging the value of Carol's input and asking if her thinking had been correctly represented, the executive made a significant point. So this not only rectified the situation, but also elevated Carol's visibility and actively involved her in the discussion. So this example illustrates how leaders can use their words to foster broad and creative change within an organization. So the next strategy is right opportunities. In right opportunities strategy, leaders actively seek out, create, and leverage situations that motivate change in others. For example, a woman was hired as a division president at a technology company. She opposed the prevalent top-down leadership style, but recognized that directly challenging it could lead to conflicts. Instead, she opted for a different approach. She led her division in a more participative manner, sharing power and authority with her team to the greatest extent possible. Furthermore, when asked to make presentations to the company executive, she delegated these opportunities to those who had directly contributed to the project. So this not only enhance employees' skills and experience, but also allow others executives to witness and appreciate their abilities and contribution. So this case demonstrates how leaders can promote change and foster a more inclusive and collaborative environment by creating and capitalizing on opportunities for the team's members to shine. So the final strategy we're going to look at is alliance building. So this is considered the most public approach to everyday change. So in this strategy, leaders work closely with others to push issues more forward quickly. Leaders can seek support from those who agree with the ideas, but they can also consider potential allies even among those who may initially oppose their plan. So building alliance can be a powerful way to gain support for change incentives. So to illustrate the concept of alliance building, let's look at a real example involving Paul Wilgus at Allidomic. So Paul Wilgus played a crucial role in the transformation of Allidomic. He led a new training department to promote creativity and adaptability across the organization. But despite facing skepticism from some leaders who questioned the initiative value by telling him that it was a waste of time and money, Wilgus adopted a different approach. Instead of getting defensive, he rapidly shared the positive outcome of the training program, which led to change of heart for a critical senior executive. So this individual went from being a skeptic to one of the program's most passionate supporters, highlighting the positive, persuasive power of a positive and open-minded approach, and turning opposition into passionate advocates for innovation. So this case underscores the importance of effective communication and constructive attitudes in driving change within organization and fostering innovation. Before I move on, is there any questions? Okay, so leading for innovation. This is essential because in the 21st century, CEOs and top executives are emphasizing the importance of creativity and innovation more than ever before. So let's take a look at some key trends on finance. So these are some statistical insights. To begin, consider this. In a survey conducted by the American Management Association, the top answer among 500 CEOs on how to survive the 21st century was practice, creativity, and innovation. However, only 6% of these CEOs believe that their companies will effectively achieving this goal. So another survey conducted by Business Week and the Boston Consulting Group revealed that 72% of top executives consider innovation a top priority. Yet almost half of them were unhappy with their innovation results. So what does this statistic tell us? It tells us that while innovation is highly valued, many organizations are struggling to implement it efficiently. So organization leaders in the United States, Europe, and Japan are recognizing the urgent need for greater innovation to keep up with technological advancements and global competition, particularly from companies in developing countries like China. So in response to these challenges, leaders are shifting their focus from traditional approach like improving efficiency and cutting costs to rewiring their organization for creativity and innovation. Some experts even suggest that the era of knowledge economy is evolving into a creative economy. So this basically means that organizations are shifting towards generating economic value from creativity, imagination, and innovation. So creating an innovation-friendly environment. So how leaders can create an environment that fosters creativity and innovation? There are 5 key elements that innovative organizations often incorporate. The first one is alignment. So to consistently benefit an organization, creative actions must align with the purpose, visions, and goals. So leaders play a crucial role in making this alignment clear by promoting the company's vision and specifying goals. They often set up separate creative department or venture team to focus on innovation. So one increasingly popular approach is the idea incubator, which is being used by companies such as Boeing, Zev Davis, and UPS. So what is an idea incubator? This basically is a safe space where employees' innovative ideas can be developed without bureaucratic obstacles or internal politics, ensuring that these ideas aligns with the company's missions and goals. Second element, creative values. So most people naturally want to explore and create, which make them eager to come up with new ideas. But unfortunately, sometimes in schools, leaders emphasize strict rule following, which can dampen this desire. But good leaders can help bring out their employees' motivation for creativity and innovation. They do this by encouraging a mindset of risk taking, trying new things, and setting up a supportive environment where people feel free to explore fresh ideas. So this kind of approach is often called corporate entrepreneurship, often leads to more innovative solutions. So one critical part of this process involves finding idea champions. So idea champions are basically people who really believe in a new idea and work hard to convince others of its value. So as I said before, change doesn't happen on its own. It needs someone to push it forward. So idea champions ensure that good ideas don't get lost and actually get put into practice. They play a crucial role in creating a culture of innovation within a company. So the next element is unofficial activities. So employees need freedom to experiment and think beyond their regular job description. Leaders can encourage this by giving employees time for unofficial activities. Some of the most innovative ideas usually come from unofficial time. So these unofficial periods involve free time or personal project, where the essence of creative acts is often discovered. Next element, internal diverse stimuli. Leaders can help provide a spark that lead to creativity by exposing their teams to diverse experience, speakers, and environments. So variety often leads to creativity. Leaders can further encourage diverse stimuli by routing employees into different roles, providing opportunities for voluntary activity, and facilitating interactions with people from various backgrounds, including customers, suppliers, and individuals from different industries. So the last element we're going to look at is internal communication. So innovation thrives when there are frequent interaction across different parts of the organization. Leaders foster an environment that encourages people to communicate across different boundaries, ensuring that creative ideas can be effectively implemented. So fostering creativity and innovation within an organization heavily relies on effective internal communication and collaboration across interdisciplinary networks. So for example, there was a company named Etrolux. This company transformed in its product development led by CEO Hans Schraberg. He amplified the benefit of designers, engineers, marketers, and production team working together to result in a successful product like the Pronto cordless vacuum. So this picture you see here is an example of the product. So this cooperative approach enhances the creativity and prevent technical issues, ultimately saving time and money. So leaders can also leverage the traits of innovative organization to inspire creativity, both in specific departments or throughout the entire organization. So to illustrate these principles in actions, consider the case study of Samsung Electronics. When Kun Healy, the chairman of Samsung, realized that the company was viewed as a producer of cheap, low-quality products, he committed to transforming Samsung into a world-class innovator. So Samsung implemented the Innovative Design Lab, IDEAS for short, a program that brought together designers, engineers, marketers, and managers from various disciplines. They underwent training to foster creative, collaborative environments. Samsung also encouraged Dream Time, where employees could explore ideas outside of the regular task and send their designers to art and design centers for inspiration. Additionally, they established the Value Innovation Program, VIP for short, a distraction-free environment for employees from different areas to work together on innovative projects. So what is the results Samsung achieved? So as I said before, Samsung was viewed as a producer of cheap, low-quality products. Now through innovative and creative thinking, Samsung became a global leader in various consumer electronic categories. So encouraging creativity in individuals. So now that we've explored creativity at organization level, let's talk about leading creative individual within his organization. So brainstorming. One effective method leaders use to encourage creativity is brainstorming. This is a process where a group spontaneously just suggests creative ideas to solve a problem. The key to successful brainstorming includes no criticism during idea generation, encouraging freewheeling thinking, and aiming for a high quantity of ideas. So there was some recent improvements, including involving brainstorming. Is having participants write down their ideas before and after brainstorming sessions to capture all thoughts. Another approach is electronic brainstorming, which involves an interactive group across a computer network. It can generate more ideas than traditional brainstorming because it removes social inhibitions and concerns. So at this point, is there any questions? Okay, to summarize what I've said so far, leaders play a crucial role in fostering creativity and innovation, both at organizational and individual levels. In a rapidly evolving world, innovation is not just a choice, it's a necessity for an organization to thrive. By creating an environment that nurtures creativity and embracing a mindset of continuous change, leaders can lead an organization to become the hotbeds of creativity and innovation. So thank you for listening. I want to pass you over to Mr. Francis, who will explain more about creativity and individuals.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teron Francis, and I will be taking you further through this discussion. We will be discussing some topics such as lateral thinking, creative intuition, implementing change, and leadership and downsizing. Lateral thinking. A person's mental process often proceeds in a predictable and somewhat linear manner from one idea to the next. However, original ideas are rarely produced via linear reasoning. When someone starts with an issue or concept and builds in a sequential manner, they are exhibiting linear thinking. A more creative approach is to use lateral thinking. Lateral thinking can be defined as a set of systematic techniques used for changing mental concepts and perceptions and generating new ones. With lateral thinking, people move sideways to try different perceptions, different concepts, and different points of view to gain novel solutions. An example of lateral thinking. On the 4th of July 1995, after more than 2.5 years of controversy, a memorandum of understanding concerning child labor in the Bangladesh garment industry was signed by the Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers and Exporters Association, UNICEF Bangladesh, and the International Labour Office of Bangladesh. In essence, the MOU stipulated that all underage workers, defined as those who had not attained 14 years of age in the garment industry, should be moved from work and into school programs. An initial parts of the agreement are an initial fact-finding survey to identify the child workers, a special education component to arrange by UNICEF in cooperation with the NGOs and in consultation with Bangladesh authorities. The reason for this MOU was a change in legislation which stopped industries from using child labor. However, instead of just terminating the employment of the children, they came to an agreement to educate them until they attained working age, and then the factories would rehire them. That was an example of lateral thinking, and it benefited all the parties involved. Are there any questions on lateral thinking at this time? If not, kindly show a thumbs up so that we can continue. Any questions? Thank you. We will now move forward. Creative intuition. The creative flash of insight leaders want to awaken is the second stage of creativity. The first stage is data gathering. The mind is gathering data constantly, especially when you are studying background material on a problem to be solved. If the analytical part of the brain is too focused and active, it shuts down the spontaneous part. Thus, the semi-relaxed mental pause is like putting the analytical brain on hold and giving room for the intuitive right brain to find the solutions to this in the subconscious mind. Citing Carl Jung, intuition is characterized as a primary mode of perception which operates subconsciously. Intuition is described as the act of knowing without the use of rational processes or immediate cognition, as stated in Webster's second New Riverside University Dictionary. Next slide. Creative intuition. Since science and intuition are generally not associated, it is better to begin this list with a man of science, Albert Einstein. However, before I move forward, are there any questions on creative intuition? If not, I will continue. Einstein. Perhaps the most well-known contribution of Albert Einstein is the invention of the theory of relativity. According to Einstein himself, he stated, "I believe in intuition and inspiration. I sometimes feel that I am right. I do not know that I am." Another person who used creative intuition was Steve Jobs. After spending time in India and following the teachings of Zen and Buddhism, Job realized how important our intuition is for guiding us along the right path. Jobs expressed his sentiment by saying, and I quote, "Don't let the noise of others drown your inner voice." End quote. Imagine where we would be if Jobs had allowed his instincts to be smothered or silenced. Another well-known person who is a fan of intuition, creative intuition, is Steven Spielberg. Most likely, you've watched a couple of Spielberg's most well-known movies, including Jaws, E.T., and Jurassic Park. In fact, without Spielberg's films to enable us to escape reality for an hour or two, a lot of our teenage experiences would have been very different. Spielberg said, "Your intuition is different to your conscience. Your conscience shouts, 'Here's what you should do,' while your intuition whispers, 'Here's what you could do.'" Next slide. A short story on creative intuition. There was a farmer, a moneylender, and the farmer's daughter. The farmer owed the moneylender a large sum of money. The moneylender said, "I will call the police and have you arrested. However, if you let me marry your daughter, I will forgive your debt." The farmer said, "I cannot do that." The moneylender said, "I will make it easy for you. I will place 2 stones in a bag, a black stone and a white stone, and let your daughter pick from the bag. If she picks the white stone, she will go free, and I will forgive your debt. If she picks the black stone, then she will marry me, but I will still forgive your debt." So the farmer agreed. While the moneylender bent down to pick up 2 stones, he sneakily grabbed 2 black stones and placed it in the bag. The young lady saw this. However, she went along with his plan. She closed her eyes and stuck her hand into the bag, pulled out a stone, pretended to stumble, and dropped the stone to the ground. She said, "I cannot remember which stone I dropped. However, if you look into the bag, you will see the color stone. You will see a color stone. If it is a black stone in the bag, it means that I selected a white stone, and I will go free, and my father will be forgiven." There was no win for the moneylender because there was a black stone in the bag. So she used creative intuition to trick a trickster who was the moneylender. Next slide. Implementing change. Leaders frequently view innovation and change. However, before we move on, any further questions on creative intuition? I'd like to make this clear before I move forward. If not, kindly show a thumbs up so that we can move forward. Anyone? Any questions? A thumbs up? Okay, let's move forward. Implementing change. Leaders frequently view innovation and change as means to fortify their organizations. However, many leaders encounter challenges when trying to put their desired change into practice. A significant factor contributing to this struggle is their failure to acknowledge and address the various obstacles that obstruct change. The core of implementing change revolves around managing barriers, particularly those rooted in human psychology. Typical leaders tend to focus on the issues that are apparent, akin to the tip of an iceberg, which include cost, quality, customer concerns, and competition. These are the easily discernible facets. Yet beneath the surface lie numerous complexities that render implementation truly difficult. To effectively instigate change, leaders must take into account the subtle nuances of human attitudes, perceptions, apprehensions, and psychological resistance lurking beneath, often rooted in individuals' genuine intentions for the organization. A pivotal aspect of guiding individuals through change is recognizing that resistance is a natural response, frequently justified by legitimate concerns. It is reminiscent of an old adage that suggests the best course of action when finding oneself on a dead horse is to dismount. Most individuals harbor some level of fear towards the unknown and find comfort in the familiar and tested. Next slide. Oh yes, this was the slide on implementing change. Any questions on implementing change? All right, next slide. How people change. Leaders frequently see innovation and change and creativity as a way to strengthen the organization. But many people view change only as painful and disruptive. A critical aspect of leading people through change is understanding that resistance to change is natural. There are 8 stages in helping people change within an organization, as mentioned above. Next slide. The 8-stage model states we must establish a sense of urgency, establish a coalition with enough power to guide the change, develop a vision and strategy, use every means possible to widely communicate the vision. Next slide. Empower employees through the organization to act on the vision, generate short-term wins, plan for visible performance improvements, enable them to happen, and celebrate employee participation. Build on the credibility and momentum achieved by short-term wins and make the changes stick. Transformation isn't over until the changes have been established. Next slide. We have some keys to help people change. At this time, I want to mention some keys that help people change in an organization. Changing people's thinking and behavior is possible, and the keys to do so incorporate 7 elements: a positive emotional attractor, top management support, supportive relationships, communication and education, repetition of new behaviors, participation and involvement, and after action reviews. These elements assist in implementing change in an organization. Case study. Adobe did a transformation of their HR department. Adobe, which has 11,000 employees worldwide with $4.5 billion yearly revenue. Due to new emerging technologies and challenges posed by small competitors in 2011, and switched to offering digital services through the cloud. HR changed its role and became more human-centric. The HR personnel did walk-ins to see what assistance they might offer. Rather than waiting for calls, staff members can now use the new check-in method to assist and define their own growth goals. Since the company's goals and culture have changed, HR discovered new ways to operate to support these changes. In other words, the HR department made check-ins and performance appraisals easier by giving people on the mark, day by day, or ball by ball, information about their performance. This method assisted employees in improving their performance and kept them on the right track to perform effectively and support the company's goals. Another company is in the change issue is Kodak. Kodak had a failure to embrace disruptive change. The first digital camera and first megapixel camera were both created by Kodak in 1975 and 1996 respectively. Kodak anticipated that it would be at least an additional 10 years until digital technology started to pose a threat to the film, chemical, and photo printing paper industries. That prediction came true. Kodak chose to increase the film quality through ongoing advances rather than embracing change and working on digital technology. Kodak started experiencing losses in 2011 as revenue dropped by 62%. Kodak was reluctant to respond, and when it started to switch towards digital technology, mobile phones with inbuilt digital cameras had arrived to disrupt digital cameras. Kodak's failure to embrace change in the market and implement the same in the organization cost them a significant market share and finally the demise of the company. All right. Next slide. Leadership and downsizing. Furthermore, downsizing constitutes a component of numerous contemporary organizational change endeavors. Initiatives such as re-engineering projects, mergers and acquisitions, global competitive pressure, and shift towards outsourcing, and the evolution from an industrial base to an information-driven economy have collectively resulted in workforce reductions. In cases where workforce reductions are deemed necessary, leaders should anticipate heightened conflict and stress levels, increased resistance to change, and a decline in morale, trust, and employee dedication. To navigate the downsizing process more effectively and alleviate tensions for both departing and remaining employees, leaders can employ various strategies and techniques. Before I move further, I would like to ask if anyone has any questions or any issues on the keys to help people change and implementing change, or the case studies of Adobe and Kodak. If there are any questions, can you state? If not, give a thumbs up so we can move forward. All right, I'll take your silence as an acknowledgement that everything was understood. All right. To navigate the downsizing process more effectively and alleviate tensions for both departing and remaining employees, leaders can employ various strategies and techniques. For example, leaders should provide advance notice with as much information as possible. Leaders can also, Leaders can also involve employees in shaping the criteria for which jobs will be cut, or which employees will leave the company. Another option is to offer incentive packages for employees to leave voluntarily and offer alternative work arrangements. Also, aiding displaced workers, such as through training programs, severance packages, extended benefits, outplace assistance, and counseling services for both employees and their families can ease trauma associated with job loss. In addition, this shows the remaining workers that leaders care about people, which can help to ease their own feelings of confusion, guilt, anger, and sadness over the loss of colleagues. We have case studies. One, in early 2008, the International Monetary Fund downsized its workforce for the first time since the organization's inception in 1944. Staff cuts would be traumatic for over 2,600 employees, so it created a variety of tools to facilitate a fair restructuring process. Communications were key. The IMF comprehensive approach included a dedicated committee to act as an employee ombudsman, an internal website to provide one-stop information, updated daily, and an open channel to the fund's managing director via email. Town hall meetings and regular coffee talks and brown bag lunches. The IMF tried to minimize mandatory layoffs by offering voluntary separation pension benefits, which usually kicked in at 65, were extended to early retirees who were at least 50. Ultimately, more than 600 employees volunteered to go, nearly 20% more than the IMF needed. IMF's thoughtful approach helped support morale for the people who stayed and preserve the organization's reputation. Second case study, when Time Warner laid off employees in its corporate office in February, Senior Vice President of World Recruitment and Executive Search ensured that the exit booklet contained more than the usual cut and dried severance information. Instead, it offered optimism and options. Call it re-employment through redeployment. Staff searched thousands of job postings within the company to create a list of options of open positions, customized for each person being let go. Contacted divisional heads of human resource and let them know which employees from the corporate office were newly available for employment. In tough times, knowing that management cares enough to offer more than a cursory goodbye and good luck builds the kind of loyalty that won't be forgotten when things get better. Next slide. Lastly, it is important to acknowledge the challenges and resistance that often accompany change. Leaders should expect opposition and reluctance from individuals who are comfortable with the status quo. However, with patience, persuasion, and a commitment to open and transparent communication, these obstacles can be overcome. This is the end of our presentation. I thank you for your time. Are there any questions at this time? Okay, if there are no questions, thank you for your time and have a pleasant night. So that is the end of our presentation.